Good evening. How are you?
Very well. Mr. Chairman, when did you first informally, not by subpoena, but informally make any sort of request or notification to the State Department or to Secretary Clinton that you were interested or you knew of emails?
Well, Greta, that would go all the way back to oversight and then Chairman Darrell Issa. There was also a letter from Subcommittee Chairman Jason Chaffetz weeks after the attacks in Benghazi where she was asked to turn over documents or records that would be in her possession. All of that predated the Benghazi Select Committee. Of course, that committee came into existence in May of 2014, and we began immediately trying to work with the State Department to secure a complete record from Secretary Clinton, but the State Department either had amnesia or just chose not to tell us they didn't have the records.
All right. When did you serve an official subpoena?
Well, the OGR subpoena was a congressional, so there was no need for us to reassert that. We did.
What was the date on that?
With the new session of Congress.
What would be when was the first subpoena sent?
That was sometime in 2013. Chairman Issa sent that on behalf of the Oversight Committee, but it was in existence well before the Select Committee came into existence.
Would that have included within it her emails? I mean, when you look at the request in the subpoena, would that have included emails?
Well, you know, Greta, it could be read that way, but good lawyers could also read it not that way. But that subpoena was to the State Department, and the State Department, we now know, was not in possession of her emails. So, I mean, that's why people hate lawyers as much as they do, is because they can parse words and dance on the head of a pin.
When did she wipe her server clean? Do you know that answer?
Well, I can give you a range, sometime between October 28th of 2014 and mid-December. But we know the letter from the State Department went to the prior Secretaries of State on October the 28th, 2014, and her lawyer says sometime in the fall of 2014 she decided not to keep those emails, and the fall would extend until, I guess, the winter solstice in mid-December.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out is whether the deletion was done just because you delete emails, or whether it was done because she knew that you were looking for her emails. I mean, there's a big difference to me. The timing.
Yeah, but Greta, you and I are never going to know the answer to that question unless we ask her. I mean, I can get all the letters in the world from her attorney, or you and I can discuss it, but this suggests, or more than suggests, this indicates that we're going to have a separate conversation with Secretary Clinton about this email arrangement that she had with herself. And that conversation is going to be separate and apart from any conversation about what happened in Benghazi.
And when are you going to have that? I mean, have you sent a letter to her that you want her to come speak to you? Have you spoken to her lawyers that you want her to come testify?
I would say in the very near future we are going to formally invite Secretary Clinton to come before either our committee, or if Speaker Boehner believes that it's best to be in front of another committee, whatever committee Speaker Boehner wants. But this line of inquiry about her emails is separate and apart from Benghazi, because there are equities beyond Libya. There's Iran, there's Somalia, or what used to be Somalia, Bolivia. You name the issue. While she was Secretary of State, somebody has an equity in those answers. So that's broader than just our committee. I'm going to do whatever the Speaker asks me to do, but I'm not looking to enlarge the jurisdiction of our committee. 4 murdered Americans is more than enough for me.
All right, we've got this March 27th letter from her lawyer. Is this the first time that you learned that the server had been wiped? And then what was your thought, and what are you going to do?
Yes, that was the first time I think anyone learned that she had deleted. Now, her press conference she gave, I would argue, inconsistent answers. She said she decided not to keep them, and then she decided that they would remain private. Those are two different things. What are we going to do about it? We're going to have a conversation with Secretary Clinton. I would hope that it would be a transcribed interview, which is private. It protects her privacy. It protects national security interests. And it rebuts this notion that this is a political charade, which some Democrats suggest. Let's have a private conversation about why you had your own server, why you didn't return the records when you left the State Department, and why you decided to permanently delete them when you knew that congressional investigations were ongoing.
Are they really permanently deleted? I mean, I must confess, I've got a little confused after the Lois Lerner thing. Is that, are things ever permanently deleted? Have you spoken to any experts? Can these be retrieved?
Well, they might can, Greta, but they certainly can if you don't have possession of the server. And again, remember, we asked that that server be turned over to the Inspector General, a neutral, detached, independent third party, and they rejected that offer. So whether or not the Speaker is going to decide to amp up that request will be up to him, but they've already rejected what I thought was an eminently reasonable recommendation.
And why did they reject it? They say because we don't have to or we don't want to?
I think he said it wasn't legally authorized, and then he said even if it were, it'd be academic because it doesn't exist. So again, and I'm sure her lawyer is a wonderful lawyer. I know he is, but I'm not interested in talking to him. I need to talk to her. I need to ask what she did and when she did it, and importantly, why she did it.
Chairman Gowdy, thank you very much for joining us.